let's start with the idea of Myntra and where it came from.
I show up in the mall on Thursday afternoon. How many people were in the mall? Nobody.
What was your biggest challenge with Cultfit?
In retrospect, pandemic is almost like for our business, in some ways a blessing, So if you are able to make those bold, decisive moves, it's going to pay you off, when the crisis gets over.
70-hour week. Yes or no?
Absolutely no, not necessary at all.
Biggest regret as an entrepreneur?
Not paying enough attention to market size.
What if Tiger Global had not come through?
Even if that didn't happen, I'm sure we would have figured out. Entrepreneurship is like a marathon. You need staying power. So prepare yourself, well, and then you'll enjoy the journey a lot more.
For most entrepreneurs, the dream to create one successful product, a huge brand that changes the market, that disrupts everything, is the lifelong dream. Imagine doing that at least twice and again. The person we're speaking to on this episode of The Disruptor is Mukesh Bansal, creator of Myntra, Cultfit, now getting into the AI space, podcaster, author, and doing so many things. Mukesh, thank you so much for the time that you've taken to speak with us today. And we'll start with, I think, your newest baby, which is your book, The Startup Code.
Yeah.
Is this the ABC, the thesaurus for startup founders?
I hope so. I've been around startups for last 25 years. I first tried to build a startup in 1999 in Bay Area. It didn't go anywhere, but I've been around startups in one capacity or another since then. And over a period of time, obviously gone through numerous ups and downs, worked with a lot of really good entrepreneurs, investors. And when you do something for such a long period of time, you start to see patterns. You start to see, what are things, mistakes you tend to repeat, what are the principles that tend to work more often than not. And then I felt, at this kind of middle stage of my career, everything I've learned about entrepreneurship, I wanted to just communicate to people. And as you know, in India, entrepreneurship is an all-time high. A lot of people are interested. They're very ambitious. They're big, bold ideas. But a lot of people don't understand what the game is all about. They kind of get into it and they figure it out as they go along. But a lot of people don't make it. So I felt if I'm able to put in word, whatever I have learned, it will be a huge, can guide people in navigating, shaping their journey, and hopefully give them better odds of building a successful startup.
So your 25-year experience summarized in this book. So it's a great opportunity for startup founders, entrepreneurs there. And, I had the opportunity to read portions of the book. And I want to start from the beginning. You start off your story over here with your biggest crisis in Myntra.
Right.
Something which was not too publicized at that time. And, first, let's start with the idea of Myntra and where it came from. Because now ordering something to wear or fashion online on your phone doesn't seem like a big deal at all. But when you started, it was. So what gave you the idea that people would trust enough to give their money to some faceless website and then their fashion product reaches home?
Well, so I moved back to India in 2007, but I was in US for 10 years before that. And I was myself an avid online shopper. So I had seen, how the whole .com boom in US has played out, and it had created so many internet giants. You can see the convenience of being able to shop from home, the time it saves, access to massive catalog and so on. So I think it was a given that it's going to take off in India also at some time. What no one knew that, when, internet was still fairly small in India in 2007, and we started fairly small. In fact, we were doing something very, very niche for first few years. It's a series of, some few accidents, few serendipitous just discovery about, interest in fashion, so on. We got a big break with IPL actually in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. And then 2011, Nike, if people remember we had World Cup in India, and Nike wanted to do this personalized t-shirt campaign. And Myntra had the capability at that time, so they partnered with us. That was in some ways our first big break. So through, it was not one aha moment. I think it was more commitment to entrepreneurship. I was, super clear that I want to build something.
लेकिन ये आइडिया कहाँ से आया कि ऑनलाइन हम कपड़े बेचेंगे, जूते बेचेंगे?
So there is no one thing. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So we were selling some stuff online, all these personalized gifting products. And then at some point we start selling these IPL jerseys, Team India jersey. With that, our relationship with Nike, Reebok, Puma, Adidas started building up. And then we actually, we had an offline kiosk where we used to sell personalized stuff. And I used to visit a lot of different malls in India. So on one such visit in Pune, I think I show up in the mall in the afternoon on Thursday probably, and you can imagine on Thursday afternoon how many people were in the mall. Nobody. And I was walking around, I think like every floor is filled with all these clothes, footwear, accessories, and not a single customer. And by the time we were already in the online business, we had ability to access customers online. So I felt all this inventory should be online as well. People should be able to. It's such a waste of effort that all these people have assembled so much stock and just there's not a person in sight all day. So that was one more trigger. So I think a series of different things which, and also looking around internationally around that time, companies like Zappos, Wankel in China, Netshoes in Brazil were doing well, Zalando in Europe. So I think multiple factors. I think partly talk about this in my book as well. Is you may have an idea on day one, but I think that idea is not worth a lot. After you invest 1 or 2 years trying to build something, the amount of learning you have, you're talking to a lot of people, you're talking to customers, you're looking at potential customers, you start to see a lot more nuanced patterns and opportunities. So in some ways, eventual idea emerges. Most people may not know, but Zomato wasn't in food delivery until 2018. For 8 years they were doing something else. Now people may look at Zomato's today's success, but may not realize that it took them 8 years to eventually arrive at an idea which will scale and become profitable and so
No,
on.
you're right. They started with the menu cards online,
Right.
basically, so you could just know about the
Yeah.
restaurant business. So
Right.
it's a progression. Let's come back to that one fateful day that you describe in the book, and you paint that scene. So do it for our viewers as well. कि आप conference room में बैठे हो, salaries, payroll देने के पैसे नहीं, and it's 1 week later.
Yeah, look, most startups, sooner or later, they sometimes face this really deep existential crisis. I know, many other startups also, they have to face, post-pandemic, many startups did. So for Myntra in 2013, I think, so for us, it has been 6 years by that time. We have gone through a couple of pivots, um, you know, lot of challenges about how to make this work, but finally in 2012 2013 we have got the right investor, things were working, we are growing every month, every quarter, and we really felt okay, now we are on to a very big opportunity. And 2013 turned out a pretty bad year. It was towards the, I think, last year of UP government, a lot of the a forex crisis. There was a lot of doubts about India as a investment destination. So despite doing everything well, no investor would touch us in 2013. And we were trying to fundraise entire 2013, but over a period of time, just none of them materialized. Either we would get polite no's, or people just say, let's wait and watch, let's see next year, and so on. And as we reaching end of the year, we, yeah, as you say, we had no money left in the bank. Now we had a company with probably 300 employees, lots of customers, and we are going to hit the payroll in just 7-8 days from then. And just we did not have enough money in the bank to even meet the payroll. So it was pretty clear to us, at least some of us who knew the full picture within the company, that it's very difficult we'll be able to make it. We were obviously scrambling, trying a lot of things, calling who will take our call and so on. And in one such call, one of our investors, Lee Fixel, he agreed to extend a $5 million
No, so,
bridge round.
no, so what did you say on that call? You describe it in the book where you get emotional.
Uh-huh.
But what do you think is that one thing you said to Lee Fixel of Tiger Global that he said, okay, I will come in and be the white knight?
I think it boiled down to communicating to him that we really believe in things. I think it's really working. We can make it work. We need to navigate next few months somehow, and then the business will absolutely work out. And to his credit, I think he believed that. And despite I think typically insiders put money when there is some external investor coming in, but he was willing to bypass all of that, and he wired us that $5 million in next few days. And we got 6 months of lifeline. And during that 6 month, lot happened. We were able to get Premji invest as a large investor. Eventually we figured out the merger with Flipkart and so on. And Myntra has had great 10-year run since then. But yeah, it was pretty close. Not for the first time. We had similar situations before also. And I think that's one of the things I try to really, communicate in the book, that when the chances of odds are probably, almost always going to be a lot more. Chances of things not working out are going to be a lot more than things working out, and entrepreneurs need to understand that and be ready to kind of navigate that somehow.
Have you been that savior for any company since then? Because you've now been on the other side. Have you ever got आपको कोई call आया है that boss, we just need a little more?
Yeah. So look, I am not necessarily. I don't see myself as an investor. I'm, primarily a builder and operator. I have worked with some companies fairly closely. One of them that I really enjoy working with is Skyroot. So Skyroot is the company that's building rockets. A couple of years ago, they became first private space company out of India to have successful launch. Now, 2018, when they started and they reached out to me for investment, and I quite like the founders and their passion, so decided to back the company. At that time, private space was not even allowed in India. The regulation was few years ahead of us. No professional VC will touch this sector. So it was a very risky bet, and me along with the Skyroot founders Pawan and Bharat, we agreed. I told them that I'm going to support this venture for next 10 years as long as you guys stay committed and we're absolutely passionate about that. And I did, in the subsequent rounds, we did some internal rounds as well. So I think I was there for them, and both to guide as well as extend financial support and give that peace of mind that we have runway and we'll just see it through, and hopefully at some point we'll catch the lucky break, which they did.
So you've had a chance to pay it forward as well. So now, interesting journey. Myntra is super success. Then the merger with Flipkart. Of course, Cultfit comes next.
Yeah.
So how do you go from a very different kind of business to now health and fitness?
Yeah.
And what was your biggest challenge with Cultfit? The pandemic, I guess.
Right, yeah. So I think first venture was mostly about, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm looking for really good opportunity to do something. And through series of accidents, we eventually stumbled upon selling fashion online. Second startup, I had the luxury to be a little more deliberate about, okay, what do I really like? What do I feel passionate about? I can feel deep personal connect. And I've been very active all my life. I have followed pretty much every trend in health and fitness for as far as I can remember. So second time around, I felt, let me try to do something in that area. I also felt that India was at a juncture in 2016 when health awareness was starting to increase. I think it's continuing to increase. Pandemic has further accelerated that. So it was kind of marriage of personal interest and passion as well as possible opportunity. So that led us to the idea of CureFit, where we defined our vision as making healthy lifestyle easy for people. Initially, we wanted to solve everything across fitness, food, mental health, even primary care. And then, pandemic happened, which was obviously just 4 into a journey. It's our business completely shuts down. I think the two worst hit businesses during pandemic were movie theaters and gyms, because these are two places where you actually cram people together.
Yeah.
That's the last thing, from police to local authorities to government will want. It's something you can't stand. And so therefore it was out of question that we can operate our gym. So our revenue went from 100 to 0 overnight, and no line in sight. In between also, when things started to pick up a little bit, we have second wave, then third wave. It's like, how many blows can you really take? But see, look, other things, which I've learned during my entrepreneurial journey, there's this line which says, never let a crisis go to waste. So I'd seen that before many times, both in my startup journey as well as other startups I work in Bay Area. And this time, in some ways, I was very mentally prepared. I was like, great, we have a crisis. What can we do out of this? So during those 18 months, we significantly changed our business model. We shut down some businesses. We sold some business. Our food business, we externalized. Ankit was my co-founder. He took over, and he's now running that very successfully. We also figured some very interesting deals, including with Tata's and Zomato, to get some funding into the company when business was not doing well. And that preparation, while it was very painful during 18 months, when the pandemic eventually ended, we were in much, much better shape. Our business model was a lot more cleaner. We also did a bunch of acquisition along the way. And since then, I think last 2.5 years, we've had a dream run. I think, things have gone extremely well. So in retrospect, pandemic is almost like for our business, in some ways a blessing, we're able to get rid of all the bad stuff, double down on good stuff, and really dig very deep. Crisis brings out a different level thinking. And this, I think one advice, to all entrepreneurs, I'll say, it's inevitable. You are going to face crisis. If on the day of crisis, you can first and foremost acknowledge, okay, I've got a real crisis on my hand. Don't be in denial or wishful thinking. Okay, just pretend as if things will work out. Say, okay, this is a real, genuine crisis. Things are absolutely messed up. Now what can I do? That gives you license to just start from blank slate and look at, long hard look at, what is going on with your business. A lot of people give you a lot of license to make fundamental changes during that time. You can restructure the company, you can rethink your leadership team, your business model, and so on. And if you make the right moves, and a lot of time, crisis doesn't happen for you alone. It's going to happen to a lot of other players in the industry as well. So if you are able to make those bold, decisive moves, it's going to pay you off, when the crisis gets over.
So literally, the company shed the flab
Exactly.
during the pandemic
right.
and emerged stronger. Very interesting. Uh, you know, the hottest thing right now, I think, is quick delivery.
Right.
You were never tempted to sell things in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. What do you make of that trend?
Yeah.
Because that's where all the competition is.
Right. Look, I think if I go back to my Flipkart days, I remember having a discussion internally about how can we really speed up delivery, and I distinctly remember having internal conversing the eventual goal is to get to a point where people can get their products almost instantly. That will be the holy grail. At that time, logistics network, the density, which is a very key factor to be able to ensure quick delivery. For example, this area that we are shooting this, if you get 10 orders a day, quick delivery is not feasible. But the same locality, if you're getting thousands of orders every day, then you can keep your warehouse very close to this place and deliver lots of customers. So I think it was, in some ways, I felt inevitable. But it's great to see it's finally happened last 2-3 years, and it's since the days of e-commerce, probably biggest innovation in retail in India. It's great for consumer. You get product you want instantly. I think it's triggering new demands. It's also driving a lot more innovation in the space overall. So I think it's a great place to be. I think I'm sure all the quick commerce guys are also really enjoying the massive growth they're able to see and challenge some of the large existing players. But it's a great thing, I think, for everyone involved.
Yeah. So quick commerce is the hottest new thing, and maybe that's the timing of it and what you are doing has been different. But has there been any idea that you've seen and said, "Hey, I wish I had
Yeah.
done that," or something that you saw and said, "I'm glad I didn't do that"?
Yeah, I think, look, I think every entrepreneur has those things. Once something's working, then you look back and say, like, it's something you could have done. For example, I think when I started Myntra, and we focus on fashion, but we very easily could have focused on a complete retail as well and could have been like Flipkart. So, not anymore, but at time I used to wonder, why didn't we start with all categories? What was stopping us from saying, well, there's only one category? That's one example. 2016, when we started Curefit, with, on one hand, very strong passion for health and fitness, but around that was a time when the initial seeds of the entire fintech boom was being sowed, and fintech is a much, much larger category. And I had a lot of exposure to fintech at Flipkart. In fact, PhonePe was incubated from Flipkart around the time when I was there. Not only that, same year I also invested in Grow and Cred. So I had also like a first hand exposure to what is happening. But either out of lack of passion for the industry, it didn't occur to me. But sometimes you wonder, like, could have started something in fintech. But yeah, that's, I think, part and parcel of there's eventually, as an entrepreneur, you can only do few things. There are so many opportunities out there.
नहीं
And
सब आप बनाएंगे तो और क्या लोग
that's
बनाएंगे?
exactly right. Yeah, absolutely.
Since we're talking about lessons for entrepreneurs and for the startup space, do you think that's the biggest reason for the survival of a business? Figuring out early enough that this is not a good idea. I may be excited about it, but it's not a good idea. Let my ego not get in the way and shut it down.
No, 100%. I think, and not only once, again and again. I mean, startup, we talk about pivot, right? Pivot is a nice, fancy word, but what it means, right? Whatever you are doing is not working. Please shut it down, go back to drawing board, and start again, and keep smiling through the process and pretend as if everything's okay. That's very, very hard. And to talk about Zomato, that the many companies have to pivot multiple times. It's not easy at all. Companies are also supposed to innovate. Right now, innovation again requires a lot of experimentation, a lot of risk. You will try many initiatives. Like if I go back to Myntra days, there was a we were trying to build even way back in 2012, 13, this virtual trial room. Idea was,
Yes, I remember that as a customer.
great, yeah. So if you remember, then you can recognize how much effort we were to put in to, because we really wanted to make it happen. And despite it not working, there were technology challenges, adoption challenges. But after a period of time, you have to recognize also that you not keep throwing good money after bad. And if customers are telling you it's not working, then you shut it down. Direct your resource something else. So for that, what you need is, one is a lot of self-awareness. You need to, as an entrepreneur, I like this phrase. It's called strong opinions loosely held. So as an entrepreneur, I really have to believe in something. If I don't believe in, I will not get the effort, energy, commitment around that. But similarly, I should not be so married to it that I go down with that. Tomorrow you see some other evidence from other quarters that that thing is not going to work, or there's some much better alternative. You should also just let go as if nothing happened. And so that, I think that contradictory balance of strong opinions loosely held, I think works out really well.
So at this level of success, does that become a challenge for people to come and tell you that, honestly, you're the boss, but I don't think this is such a good idea?
Look, it can become a big challenge. It boils down to the culture you build in the company. A lot of entrepreneurs again may not realize that big part of what you do is trying to build a certain type of culture, which is going to, if the company works out, is going to outlast you as an entrepreneur. Yeah, personally for me, I've liked those environments where there's absolute transparency. What is happening in the company, everyone's aware of it. Everyone's treated equally. All my companies, we haven't had titles in Cultfit. Even today, we don't have titles for anyone. Just this is a symbolic way of saying that we really don't believe in creating that very explicit hierarchy, encouraging people to speak their mind in all possible forums. And with that, I think the chances of you making mistakes and no one telling you goes down.
How important is that culture? And I'm asking in the context because you've also had the experience of working with a very large conglomerate, with
Right.
Tata Digital. And
Yeah.
that is, you can't get more hardcore corporate than that structure. And then you've worked in many
Yeah.
different kinds of structures. What is the difference, and what is more conducive to actually getting an idea that causes disruption?
Yeah, I think, see, as the companies become larger and larger, they obviously start to become risk averse. Primarily because the cost of failure becomes very high for any large company. Even if you look in the West, all the big tech companies, they don't take, for them a lot of innovation doesn't come from in-house, it comes through acquisitions. If you look at at Facebook, WhatsApp is an acquisition, Oculus is an acquisition, acquisition, Instagram is an acquisition, and so on, right?
OpenAI.
Yeah. So Microsoft, right? Instead of building AI in house, they are relying a lot more open AI and so on. So I think so you have to see where are you in the journey of a company. See, first few years, I think all companies are by definition, they take risks because otherwise you can't survive. You're trying to do something new. As you start to find your feet, I think finding that balance between something is working, let me double down and grow as fast as possible, but keep building seeds. For that, I think one of the pattern I've seen work is, hire more entrepreneurs. Say entrepreneurship, out of 10 people who start, 9 don't succeed. And they don't succeed not because they did not have the caliber or talent. It's just variety of reason. Again, I discuss, I have a, whole chapter in the book, Why Startups Fail. And a lot of things are, beyond your control. But these people have learned the ropes about startups. So hiring those people, giving them ownership. We have such example, we in Cultfit recently, we were trying to build a new vertical. We hired someone, who was entrepreneur, was trying to do something. He has joined us, and his approach is very different. He's able to take risk. He also try a lot of experiment. Doesn't always wait for permissions or answers. So you can also change culture by injecting different talent and different mindset at different stages of the company.
That's interesting. I only wonder that if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, would you last long, as an employee in another new company, and would you eventually want to set out on your own because you have that bug?
Yeah.
But then that's an interesting thing. Let me just come to your newest venture, and of course, I think the next big disruption is going to be AI.
Yeah.
Right now, we are hearing about it, but we're not seeing it. AI is like a masala on top, for lack of a better analogy. Everything says AI, AI, AI.
Right.
But what is the AI bit? What is your company doing, and how do you think that could be the next disruption?
Yeah, I think Whenever there is a seismic technological breakthrough happens, you know, sometimes hype gets into overdrive, but the actual technology adoption takes long period of time. If you look at again internet, there was so much hype in 98, 99, and then dot-com burst, and almost radio silence for next 5 years. But the good companies were at it. They were improving their technology, their performance, solving for new use cases. Same for smartphone. When Apple launched iPhone in 2007, I read, but I did not buy my first iPhone till 2010. I was like, what's the big deal? BlackBerry is fine. It has nice keyboard and all of that. So 3 years. Same for WhatsApp. I think most people, I think, listening to this, they probably would have started using WhatsApp in 2014, 15. But WhatsApp was launched in 2011. And today, I don't think anyone can live their life, without WhatsApp, right? So I think technology adoption takes time. I think we are in exactly same situation with AI. The hype has absolutely gone in overdrive. Too much been written about AI in last 1 or 2 years. Too much investment has gone in. It cannot translate into returns for investors in such a fast time frame. So my sense is I think things are going to be slower on AI, and that does not mean that there's anything wrong with fundamentally technology, but the maturation of that will require some time. But if we fast forward to next 5 to 10 years, I think it's going to be probably one of the biggest technological shift that we will see in our lifetime. And pretty much everything we do, including how we're recording this, will probably go through significant change, will be heavily assisted by AI for sure. Right. So it's a very exciting times ahead, and recognizing that, the company I'm building now, Nurix, we want to become highly specialized in deploying AI within the enterprises, figuring out what are the most relevant use cases, how to incorporate AI today to drive some automation, productivity boost, customer experience improvement, and keep improving it year over year. We feel AI will enable creation of a lot of large companies. It's a big opportunity for India also from services point of view. We have large IT services sector, and I think it's AI is both a threat and opportunity for the sector. And like companies like us and others can capitalize on that and build very AI first services mindset to deliver on different kind of solution which wouldn't have been possible otherwise.
Will your solutions with your company allow enterprises to cut jobs and replace with AI? Is that
Yeah.
when you're talking about the opportunities and threats for a country like India, that is definitely one threat.
So look, I think most technological advancement, leads to some disruption. You're calling this program disruptors, right? So if you, everything, e-commerce, now has it reduce retail outlets in India or increase? It has increased. Like today offline retail is growing even faster than online retail because the consumers are a lot more aware and so on. Zomato and Swiggy, are restaurants going out of business or they're getting more business? I think they're seeing more business. I don't think it's that big of a threat. Similarly, quick commerce and kirana, how do they coexist? So I think every new technology comes with this question mark of how does the landscape shift, as long as it's somehow helping the overall pie increase. So what do I mean by overall pie increasing here is further boost in economy, the productivity growth translating also income growth, a lot of new type of job creation, so on. So some jobs will be lost, there's absolutely no question about it, but I'm optimistic it will also lead to creation a lot more new type of jobs.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mukesh Bansal there. We've really enjoyed this interview. We hope you did too. And we're waiting to see what comes next.
Thank you, Tamanna.